Okay, so if you haven't heard of Scottie Scheffler, you may not be a golfer. He has been winning like crazy on the PGA Tour. He still has a long ways to go to catch up to Tiger's amount of wins, but nevertheless, he's been very consistent over the last couple of years. And so I want to analyze why is he winning? What makes Scottie Scheffler so great at what he does? So first things first, obviously overall posture and setup is going to be very solid. These guys do this on a daily basis, so their posture is always in check. As he takes the club away, he's got a slight inside takeaway, no big deal. Still keeping the club within range. Typically, tour pros are somewhere in this vicinity with their club face, so we're doing pretty well there. As we get up to the top of the golf swing, he does have a little bit of a crossover with the angle of the club. Typically, you would not see the shaft of the golf club. Textbook would be parallel to the target line, but it's a little bit around and inside, which is fine. He gets away with it. As he drops the club in, you're going to notice he immediately gets that club parallel to the primary swing plane line. Okay, so right about here, as soon as possible, he's trying to get that club parallel. Then from there, he's going to drop that club in slightly underneath the plane line with his club face as he gets into that position 5, position 6-ish, right? And so that's really a key point here is that the club face is behind his hands. That allows him to swing from the inside when he hits that golf ball, okay? Rather than what most amateurs do is they're going to pull across the golf ball, okay, which is why they typically will hit a slice from there. All right, so as he drops that in, he's going to rotate, and this is where, once he's connected here, okay, this is what makes him so successful, is that once he's connected here, he's already rotated his hips a little bit and started shifting his weight. You can see how his head is hanging back because his lower body's already moving forward. But from this position, he starts to really push his body through the ball, through the hitting area here. Okay? And this is where all of his weight transfer is happening through the golf ball. Now, this isn't the best angle to see weight transfer, but this is an important angle to analyze because this is where you see the path of the club working. Now, from here, you can see how, because he's shifting his body so hard left and through the ball, that right foot travels along with the body. It's just going along for the ride as he shifts into his left leg and then into his left hip there. Okay? Now, as we move forward, we're going to go from the other angle here. Let me show you the first angle, the forward angle. This is where you see all his weight transfer. So that's one thing that, all these tour pros, they all do the same textbook things. But this is one thing that makes Scottie Scheffler unique, is not only is, yes, it's kind of ugly the way that he rotates around his front ankle, and I totally would never recommend that the average golfer do that. But because of the fact that he's rotating around that ankle and he's shifting his weight through that line, you can see how far from this address position, okay, from his address position, you can see how far he has shifted his hip. Okay, so if this is where he starts, right, this is where his left hip is starting, watch how far he moves that left hip through the ball. Okay, so by the time he's into his position 8, almost position 9, he has transferred his weight literally almost probably like 8 to 10 inches through the ball. Tour average is about 4 to 6. Okay, so he is really exaggerating that hip shift through the ball, making him clear his hips through the ball better than the average tour pro. He has shifted so much weight ahead of the ball that when he's making contact with the ball, I mean, look at how far from the golf ball his left hip is, right? So he is really moving through, not just rotating. Everybody, all the tour pros rotate. You can't be a tour pro without rotating your hips. But nobody on tour shifts their hip as far left as Scottie Scheffler does, and from what I've seen. There are players that turn more, but I have yet to see anybody that shifts their weight as much through the ball as he does. So maybe there's something to it. Maybe the average golfer is not shifting through the ball enough because we've all been taught not to sway, right? That's the first thing you learn when you take a golf lesson from your average hitting coach is don't sway through the ball, turn, right? And that's old school mentality. But these newer golfers, these new golf athletes, are really proving a lot of the old status quo instructions wrong, in their abilities to kind of make the ball do what they want to do by using their bodies in ways that maybe are a little unorthodox, and that's okay. Because you got to break outside of the mold to be different and to be exceptional. So I hope that helps. As always, aim small, swing smooth. Peace.